Glad to be here. Just want to touch base on our last two draft picks. Obviously, in the fourth, we took Barryn, Sorrell out of Texas, and then with our last pick, we took Colin Oliver out of Oak State. Just real quick on Barryn, obviously, he was here, and you guys got a chance to see him, and what a cool moment that was. We did not know he was here, in the sense that wasn't the reason we picked him, but it's just, some things are just meant to be, and it was a pretty cool moment both for him and I think for the organization as well. Really love what he brings, both as a human being, just the ruggedness and physicality this guy plays with. You define him, I just say he's a football player. He's going to make us better. He's going to make that room better. And then Colin Oliver, he dealt with a little bit of an injury this year. Didn't play a lot, but the one thing about him, especially when you're back to the 23 tape, you turn the tape on him and you can see he's got twitch and explosiveness off the edge that brings a little bit more of a unique skill set that way. He's also got some versatility that's going to allow him to potentially play some stack. And then he brings incredible special teams value with his whole skill set. So just really excited to get both those guys. And with that, I'll just open up to questions.
Bill, what is it about Oliver that you guys feel so good about, given that he only played 5 quarters last year?
Yeah, and it's partly go back to the tape from 23. He's one of those guys that makes an impact when you watch on tape, and it necessarily doesn't always come through in the stat sheet. And then through the process at the Senior Bowl, and then he worked at Indy as well. So there's a comfort level with where he's at. We talk versatility so much, but I think he's more than just a versatile player. He's got a niche that I think is going to allow him to see the field.
What's the niche? Because some people want to find out what he is. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge guy? You say he's got a niche. What's the niche?
The niche is he's a really good football player. He's if you say the old school DPR, situational pass rusher, if you want to put a tag on him right now, I'd say that's probably, if you were to put him in a position, that would be it. But we took him with the idea that the things that Coach Hafley wants to do, he's going to allow some multi-alignments that, just increased his value in our eyes.
So Milt, with Barryn, when did you guys realize he was across the street?
It kind of encapsulates what happens in the draft room sometimes. You exist in this bubble through the whole draft process. And when Mr. Goodell got up there and said, "Oh, this kid is here," I thought he was having somebody else come up and announce the pick, not realizing he was actually in the green room. And you guys had a chance. It sounds like he paid his way here. Just wanted to be a part of it. And big, fast, smart, tough, good people who need football. I think with him you can just check all those boxes. And if that isn't enough of an anecdote to tell you what kind of kid that is, I don't know what else.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You guys generally like, obviously really big edge guys who can play, both parts of the game. Has anything happened in the last year or two to make you think that a deep designated rusher is a good idea?
And again, I don't want to pigeonhole these guys, but the league is such, the ball gets out so quickly that sometimes just the ability to win at the snap is, for certain guys, I think both these guys have that ability to do that. Not that the guys that we have currently on our roster don't. It just, the game has evolved, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, where the ball gets out so quickly that you have to have guys that can win in different ways. And you need guys that are more than power rushers, and I think we've got some of those guys too, but I think we've got a good group of just, edge guys right now, and I know Brian has hit on it before. We feel really good about those guys, and I think all these guys do is create more competition, and in the end, I think everybody's going to be better by us adding these two.
How do you look at the Senior Bowl? It's obviously been a significant layoff for him.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of rust knocking that off. But I think the thing that stood out for us is just is the tempo that he played with and then the competes, you know, and he wasn't afraid to jump right back in.
Bill, you've done this a long time.
Yeah.
I understand that the most important thing is, can the guy play or not play? Is he gonna help us win or not? But I've heard Goody now the last 2 days talk about Golden and Williams and say he's been through some adversity and come out the other side of it. He's talked about loving football. How much do you guys, how much of a piece of the puzzle is the other stuff, the stuff that doesn't get measured, that's not on tape? And is it more, you've done this for as long as you have, is there more to that now? Are you doing more of that? Has that always been that way?
I think for any good scouting department, you have to wrap your mind around the fact that these are young men who've been through a life, you know, their life to this point is different than how I grew up in a small town in southwestern Wisconsin. You know, I never had to worry about locking our doors and, but so many of these kids come from so many different backgrounds, and adversity for one person could be a complete 180 for the other person, what they've had to deal with. So it comes in a lot of ways, and it's a roundabout way of answering the question, but I think if you have guys who've been through tough times, in their minds, whatever that tough time is, and they've come out okay on the other side, that they're gonna be callous enough to be able to handle the day in and day out of what it takes, not only to be in this league, but then to be successful. But at the same time, too, guys that haven't had to handle adversity and they've had a bunch of success, sometimes that's a greater measure of how guys handle the success. Okay, now, okay, you've achieved something now, you know, what do you bring the next day? And are you gonna bring guys with you? And we've talked a little bit about it, like leaders by example are great, but you need we need leaders that are gonna bring other people with them. And I think, you know, to Brian's credit, his time here and my time being able to be here, I think we've really done a good job of bringing those type of people here.
What are things you look for that say to you guys, when we get that player here, he's going to continue to work and ascend and grow and take advantage of the facilities and improve each month, each year?
When we get a chance to sit down and visit with every player, you know, whatever touch point it is, I always ask myself, when you walk, even if it's a 5-minute conversation, can I trust this guy? And the conversations you have with coaches, the conversations you have with pro liaisons, and in the whole NIL world, it's become very transient. You know, you might have a kid that's been at 3 different stops, and it doesn't mean, I mean, I can't, you know, when you're being offered 7 figures to come play college football at a different university, I can't say, you know, that's a bad thing, and they're doing the best that they can with the information they have. But I just feel like, you meet somebody and sometimes you trust your instincts. Can I trust you? You know, am I gonna trust you? And it's, can I trust you to do the things, can we trust you to do the things that people don't see? And if what you've heard about their character and your interactions with those, when they match up, generally you're, you know, 99 times out of 100, those are the type of guys that are gonna make it.
Hey, Milt, in that same vein, we only know Barryn for the span of a 20-minute press conference, but it was pretty emotional. Obviously, he was shouting out his family. Well, what did you learn about him in that process of, you know, going through this and just kind of the human that you guys were bringing in?
I mean, Jason just showed us the clip. We were on the clock selecting Colin and not realizing that he had gotten that emotional, and it kind of chokes you up a little bit because you realize, you know, what it means, not just to be in the National Football League, but to be here. And for him to bet on himself, you know, if that guy stays healthy, he's going to play as long as he wants to.
You mentioned Oliver can maybe play a little linebacker for you.
Sure.
Is that just because he's of that size, or you see something?
He's done it. He's done it on tape earlier. He's played both. So, you know, for us, you know, we'll put him, you know, wherever Coach Halfley ends up. You know, our anticipation is we'll put him in the edge room, we'll put him in that group, and then as he comes in and works and competes, and if he shows that he's able to manage doing both, then I'm sure, you know, Coach will have, you know, opportunities for him to do both.
And Milt, what allowed him to make such a big splash as a freshman? I mean, he was like freshman All-American and double-digit sacks and everything when he first came on the scene. Like, what about him?
I think that goes back to, we talked about just his, we were talking a little bit about the get-off and the take-off and the natural twitch and athleticism. Sometimes you just put your hand on the ground and go. And I think that's a little bit of what he did, being a young kid, just saying, okay, I got to go try to make my mark, and, they obviously trust him to do it.
No, you mentioned special teams value with his skill set. He's done some of it, but not a ton. What about his skill set makes you think he'd have a great?
Just what we're talking about, his change of direction, his acceleration. He's a pretty good tackler, when you see him playing the stack spot. So all those things generally translate. But then I think, Coach Bisaccia can speak to this more than I can, but I think sometimes about special teams is just the mentality too. I think he really has that.
What are the disadvantages for being a shorter edge guy, and are there any advantages to that?
I think leverage is an advantage. You think about some of the, like the Dwight Freeney's of the world. I was in Baltimore. We had Elvis Dumerville. He never measured 6 foot his entire life, but he just had found a way, take off, leverage his ability to get under tackles who can't bend real well. Obviously, if they're not, it's the physics of football will come into play sometimes too. You get swallowed up by a big man, but the shorter edge rushers generally have that takeoff power, explosiveness, and their ability to leverage under people.
Hey, Milt, speaking of big guys, on the other side of it is obviously Belton.
Yeah.
What did you guys see in him, and what does a guy with that size have to do to make sure that he's got the other things that make him effective?
I think and I expect you guys will see it, training camp practices. There's a play style about him was one of the first things that jumps off the tape. And you always want to try to harness that back in versus try to get them to show you that. And he's just a versatile big man who plays with a tempo that fits regardless of scheme. Those guys play. And I think when you watch the tape, obviously you talk to him and you see the passion that he exudes when you talk to him as a football player, but also when that the tape matches that too.
2 more, please.
No, going back to my touchy-feely question from earlier, I'm curious, you just had another line about, can I trust him?
Yeah.
What, for you guys, when you're scouting guys, I mean, obviously they want to put their best foot forward, but do you think being able to read, whether it's figuring out if the guys on your DeSoto football team are those type of leaders or those type of guys or guys now, is that an art form that goes up? Is that as much a piece of what you do as looking at tape and recognizing a guy's play style or his traits?
I will not pretend to be an artist by any way, shape, or form, but I think it comes with experience. And anybody with an extensive football background can watch tape and see, okay, what kind of player they are. But so much of the responsibility we have as scouts is who they are. And that takes time. It's no different than evaluating tape. It takes connections. It takes spending extra time at practices. It's maintaining those connections. I know I've always referenced Ozzie a lot, but he would always challenge us every fall to develop 2 contacts you'll have the rest of your career, and to continue to foster those contacts because, and it's proven to be so true in the NIL world that we live in now, and the ability to make a phone call. I always tell our scouts, you don't have to be in touch with every single guy in a building that you visit, but you have to have the one guy or one person that you can call to get the true story or the answer to the question that comes up. So it takes work, much like we ask our players to come in and work every day, and the personnel it takes the value of that is, it's priceless, and but ultimately it takes work. If I could real quick, just to close, we're supposed to get some shirts in, but with the facility being shut down, we weren't able to. Excuse me for a sec. Matt Turpening is a college director for the Colts. He lost his wife 2 weeks ago. And we just want to, as a Packers, make sure that, he knows we're thinking about him. So